manajetakangen yukashutimi Sandra. Kay pikapani yachachinga pa yukanchi pa causa y cultura, yukanchi pa cultura, quichua cultura, shukta runa kuna pa cultura y ari kajarishu. All right. I was just saying in Quechua that I am here to speak of our Quechua culture and other Latin American cultures. I have seen many comments with a misconception of the caste system and what they might think it represents in modern society. The caste system is no longer used, but it is expressed in street talk still in Latin American society. But it is far from an accurate guidance to determine someone's real identity. For starters, some believe that if an Indian was raped during the caste system and bear a child due to forced intimacy, they think that child gains privileges. That is far from the truth. For one, the violated woman would have to prove she was violated, and even if that were the case, she would be having a child out of wedlock. Only mestizos of married parents were acknowledged with mestizo privileges. Although many were married, many were raped. So there is really a thin line between mestizo and indigenous when it comes to race and identity. In other words, you might meet an indigenous person with mixed features and a so-called mestizo with pure features, pure indigenous features. Now let's examine mestizos. Okay. If some haven't realized, Ecuador is considered the most mestizo country in Latin America, which makes up like 70% mestizo, which is questionable. That is illogical due to history. The more contact, the more mixing. So we know that the three, La Nina, La Pinta, La Santa Maria, came from the Atlantic Ocean, came from Spain to the Americas. So the most mixing would be, so countries in the Atlantic Ocean side had more mixing than the Pacific Ocean side. Plus, Ecuador has the Amazon rainforest, which was hard to penetrate that jungle for a long time. That is why the native languages predominate there in the Amazon, and also the Panama Canal did not exist until President Theodore Roosevelt created it in 1881. The Americas was discovered in 1492. So basically centuries of more mixing in the Atlantic side than the Pacific side. So Ecuador cannot be more mixed than Venezuela, for example. And history would say that Paraguay is more mixed, especially due to their weird laws that they had in the past where it was mandatory to mix. A law made by Jose Gaspar Rodriguez de Francia. Also thanks to the War of the Triple Alliance, it became a country of nothing but mainly women who married outsiders because male Paraguayans died in that war in large numbers. Alright, so we got that brief history to explain why Paraguay would be more mestizo, and very obviously more mestizo. So how does Paraguay end up being less mixed than Ecuador, you might say? Well, because the person filling out the demographics are not accurate in what they claim to be. In many Latin American countries, you require more than being pure blood in order to claim indigenous American in social settings. So you must know your native tongue and be a member of an indigenous community. Therefore, many pure-blood natives will self-identify as mestizo because they have lost their native tongue and traditions. So wearing Western clothing and speaking monolingual Spanish makes many Ecuadorians assume that they are mixed rather than assume their ancestors simply assimilated without mixing.
So how can we know who we are exactly? DNA testing? Nope, unfortunately no. Unless you are rich, then yes. But if not, your best bet is only DNA kit testing online, which is just an estimation based on most probable matches. That is only 50% certain, which they make that clear in their website before you buy their product. They take our saliva and clean it up and break down the cells. They clean the DNA and break down in small pieces and examine it on a chip. And it won't definitively state your ancestry. Here is how it works. Our DNA is constructed of 3 billion parts, and most DNA only look at less than 1%. Sorry folks, that is not much. About 700,000 sections where they know 700,000 sections where they know there are slight differences or variants among humans. Then they compare patterns or your differences to certain groups of people in their databases. And with mathematical estimate, they try to approximate which group you most probably fit in with. It's not 100% reliable evidence. It's statistical guessing. It's statistical guessing that gives you the most probable outcome. Commercials like Ancestry.com are giving misinformation on how accurate the results are for obviously trying to sell you something. I am doomed to never know who I am. It depends how you see it. In my opinion, one's experience is largely dependent on one's racial makeup. Your appearance on the outside. So if you look black, you end up with all its stereotypes and experiences that lead you to self-identify with those similar to that experience. So I believe we connect in that form. And normally our appearance is the obvious key to our origins, since we pass on our genetic traits to our children. So our children look like us. So then the children's children and those children after that will look like each other. Have similar physical traits that are the same. That is why people from where we originate from have a similar look to us. I look like the people from Ecuador, where my mom is from. So that means those people are close relatives compared to the ones from far. And that may seem like not much as proof, but at least it should help. Thank you.